In this podcast episode, researcher, professor, and author Dr. Sarah Hill discusses her new book, This Is Your Brain on Birth Control: The Surprising Science of Women, Hormones, and the Law of Unintended Consequences. The conversation delves into the evolutionary biology of women and the impact of hormonal birth control on their behavior and preferences. Dr. Hill begins by addressing the question, what is a woman? She explains that from an evolutionary perspective, a woman is defined as the member of a sexually reproducing species who invests more in reproduction. This investment is evident at the cellular level, where women's eggs are larger than men's sperm, and it echoes throughout the biological and cognitive levels. Women's increased investment is reflected in their heightened sensitivity to negative emotions, sexual vulnerability, and the potential for higher levels of regret in short-term mating episodes. The conversation then shifts to the impact of hormonal birth control on women's preferences and behavior. Dr. Hill highlights research findings that show women on hormonal birth control have a decreased preference for masculine male faces and voices. Additionally, discontinuing hormonal birth control can lead to changes in how women perceive and are attracted to their partners. The discussion also touches on the evolutionary significance of men's competition for competence-based reputation. Dr. Hill explains that men's competition for status and reputation is rooted in their evolutionary history as hunters and providers. Men's alignment with high-status individuals and their competition for competence-based reputation are seen as strategies to increase their reproductive fitness. The conversation delves into the concept of mate choice copying, where women are influenced by the choices of other women in selecting a partner. Dr. Hill explains that women may perceive a man with a beautiful partner as having hidden qualities that make him a desirable partner, leading to a magnified perception of his desirability. One of the key points discussed is the role of women in the workforce and the challenges they face in balancing career aspirations with family planning. Dr. Hill highlights the impact of birth control on women's ability to plan their lives and pursue their educational and career goals. She also addresses the societal pressure on women to prioritize their careers over family and the implications of delaying motherhood due to the availability of birth control. The conversation also touches on the unintended consequences of birth control, such as the decline in fertility rates and the increasing number of women who remain childless. Dr. Hill emphasizes the need for women to be educated about their fertility and the potential risks of delaying motherhood, as well as the societal expectations and pressures that influence women's reproductive choices. Dr. Peterson and Dr. Smile. Hill also explore the impact of birth control on women's emotional and psychological well-being, as well as the societal changes in sexual behavior and relationships. They discuss the challenges faced by women in navigating the complexities of modern relationships and the implications of changing sexual norms. Dr. Hill continues by discussing the impact of hormonal changes on women's career choices. She explains that women who are hyper-competent at law and business often face a dilemma when they reach the pinnacle of their careers. Many of these women, who are typically in their late 20s to early 30s, begin to question why they are working long hours and sacrificing family time. This often leads to women leaving high-powered positions in favor of jobs that offer more flexibility and shorter hours. Dr. Hill emphasizes that women value investing in their family and relationships, and this often takes precedence over career advancement. Dr. Hill also discusses the potential consequences of hormonal transformation on women's political activism. She suggests that women who are significantly affected by hormonal changes may have a greater impetus to engage politically, as their preferences and motivations are influenced by their hormonal state. This raises important questions about the societal impact of hormonal changes and the potential implications for gender dynamics and relationships. The conversation then turns to the effects of hormonal birth control on cortisol, a hormone that helps the body adapt to stress. Dr. Hill reveals that women on hormonal birth control often experience a blunted cortisol response to stress, which can have implications for their emotional well-being and mental health. She highlights the need for more research on the long-term consequences of altering women's hormonal balance with synthetic hormones. Dr. Peterson and Dr. He'll also discuss the use of non-bioidentical hormones in hormonal birth control, particularly the synthetic progesterones known as progestins. Dr. Hill emphasizes that these progestins do not have the same binding specificity and affinity as natural hormones, leading to potential side effects and disruptions in the body's hormonal balance. The conversation takes a personal turn as Dr. Hill shares her thoughts on the implications of her research for her own daughter. She emphasizes the importance of educating young women about the trade-offs and potential risks of using hormonal birth control, especially at a young age. Dr. Hill stresses the need for individualized decision-making and informed choices when it comes to birth control options. Throughout the podcast, Dr. Hill highlights the need for a more comprehensive and honest conversation about sexual behavior, relationships, and the societal implications of birth control. She calls for a deeper understanding of the biological, psychological, and social factors at play when it comes to women's reproductive health.